This story is about House of Horrors, and I know what you're thinking. There is absolutely nothing scary about a House of Horrors, and you'd be right, but this time was different. So, if you've never been to a House of Horrors before, it's one of those really lame places where you queue up for about 2 hours, and by the time you get in, you're really, really bored and just want to get through the end of it. It's really dark, there's cobwebs everywhere, and you're chased around by people dressed up as anything that's meant to be remotely spooky, such as demons or ghosts or pirates. You run out the other end, and you regret waiting the 2 hours you took to get in. But anyway, I live in a really small town, a very remote town, and as most people would say, this place is in the middle of nowhere. Occasionally, there's this circus that comes to town, and they set up, and you pay a couple of bucks to get in, and you can go on the rides, and there's a few amusement games that you can play. It's just a really cheap way to pass the time, so occasionally I'll go to these things with a couple of friends. Normally I don't see them advertised, I just stumble across it, and that's exactly what happened this time. I was walking home with my friend called Mark one day. We walked straight past it, and I said to him, "Hey, I never knew this was back up." He didn't know either, and we just kept walking. At the time, it was the middle of the day, and it looked like they were just setting things up. There was this huge tent set up, and I could see them setting up all the Halloween themed stuff. But obviously it wasn't open, so we weren't going to go in. And we weren't in the mood to go in anyway. Anyway, I went home, and I'm just chilling in my bedroom. Normally, I just like chilling with music on, and just playing some video games. Around this time, I got really hungry, so I decided that I was going to head out to McDonald's, buy myself a Big Mac meal, come home and play video games and do exactly what I was doing before, but not be starving hungry. I headed out and I drove all the way to McDonald's. Now I say it all the way, it's probably a 15-minute drive. It's not too bad, but because, like I say, it's kind of a remote town, everyone seems to gravitate to this McDonald's. So I was stuck at the drive-thru for at least 25 minutes. I got my meal, which was not even that hot by the time I got it, and started to drive home. Now, I drove down the same road that me and my friend were walking down earlier, and I could see that everything was set up, but no one seemed to be there. The sign outside said open in big illuminated writing, so I decided just to pull over to the side, eat my McDonald's in my car, and head over there. It would be kind of cool to go through the House of Horrors on my own, get the lame experience out of the way before my family or friends decide they want to go there, as I could just say I've already been and it wasn't great, and get it out of the way. So that's what I decided to do. I got out my car and I walked over to the entrance. There was nobody about, which was kind of eerie for this time of night. Normally around Halloween time, people be flocking to this place, even at night. And when I say night, it's not that late, maybe 6 or 7 p.m. It's just really dark out because it's October. I walked up to the building that looked like the House of Horrors. I get up to the door, and there's no one there again, and it looks boarded up. I'm really confused at this point, and I decide that maybe it's not open and the lights are just on outside and it'll be ready tomorrow or something. As I turn around to walk back out and get back to my car, someone jumps out and says, "Hey, how you doing?" This spooked me and I jumped backwards, which made him laugh hysterically. He was dressed up in this really corny costume. He was dressed up as a skeleton, but had this really weird furry mask on that had big buck teeth and red eyes. I don't have a clue what it was meant to be, but it was scary. I asked him if it was open, and he paused for a moment and said yes, in a really cunning way. I told him I could come back another time if it's not fully ready yet, but he said no, of course not, it's fine, come in. So I walked through the door, and he slammed the door shut behind me. This wasn't the main entrance though, it was kind of like a side door just to the left of the main entrance. Like I say, the main entrance was boarded up, so it looked like I came through some kind of like staff door or something. Anyway, it's pitch black in there, and I can see a very faint light off in the distance. As I'm walking through this corridor to get to the faint light, because that's where I'm assuming this place starts, the corridor gets narrower and narrower, and I'm almost having to turn sideways to get through it. Now, at the point where it's its most narrow is where you have to turn left around a corner. I turned left around this corner, and as I did, I dropped down probably 2 or 3 feet into this little pit. Now, it wasn't hard at the bottom, it was full of hay and straw, so it broke the fall, but nonetheless it threw me off. As I landed, I heard a door shut behind me, and everything went dark. Now, I could hear this manic laughing off in the distance, and I'm assuming it was just this guy messing with me. I took a minute to let my eyes adjust. I could hear this creepy music in the background, but it sounded like it was a few doors over. So I realised there must be other people here and other people in different rides. It was just strangely quiet just on this day. The fact the door closed behind me kind of spooked me out, but it's a kids' amusement ride. I'm going to get through this. So I took a big step and got out of this little ditch that I was in, and I started walking again. Now my eyes had just adjusted to the light, and I could faintly see another light in the distance. I don't know if that's what this place was about, following bits of light, but as I started walking again, I could see someone in the distance. Now, this person was dressed in all black and again had a mask on, but a different one to what the guy was wearing earlier, but I couldn't make out what. As I got closer, I could hear the laughing again. It was a clown. How typical. I started shouting abuse at the clown. Nothing too bad, just kind of having banter with it, but they didn't say anything back, and as I got close to it, it ran away to the right. Now this area here is very dimly lit, and you can either go one of 2 ways, left or right, and there's a sign on the wall. Go to the left and meet your end. Go to the right and go round the bend. Now I have no idea what this meant. I'm not a poet and I have no idea what they're talking about, but I decided to go to the left because that sounded like the better experience. So I turned left and started walking down this really long corridor. Now this corridor had a really steep decline and it wasn't really protected, so there was mud on the floor, there was water everywhere, and I was slipping going down. There was nothing on the ground to stop you from falling over, so I probably walked 20 feet downwards, and at this point I realised we must be underground. That's when really, really loud music comes blaring through, so loud that it makes me jump. It's this weird circus music, and all of a sudden from behind me, I see 5 or 10 people dressed up in clown costumes at the top of the steps, pointing at me, and they start running down. This is obviously a spooky situation, but all part of the game, right? So they start running down the steps, laughing. I hear 2 or 3 of them falling over and sliding down. I'm quite fast, so I managed to make it as far down as possible, and I took a few turns down a few corridors. There were things actually jumping out at me at this point, and people grabbing me, but not keeping hold of me. I keep running, and I fall over. As I fall, I roll on my ankle, and I think it's sprained. Now, I'm in a lot of pain here, so I get up, and I hobble to the side, and just tuck into a little corner. This corner's just to the left once again, and there's a door there. I'm hoping that I can just sit here for a moment, let the clowns pass, and I can get out of this place. This is a really bad haunted house, and now that I've hurt my ankle, I just want to get out of here and go home. I'm kind of spooked out, but I don't want to say anything to anyone because these people seem weird. So I need to find a way out of this place. Now there's a door just behind me, so I try to unlock it, but it's completely locked. It won't budge. It goes completely quiet in there, and I decide I'm just going to stay still and see what I can hear. At this point I have to say it's very, very dark in here, and I'm tucked away just around a corner. No one can really hear me, and if I don't breathe loudly, all you can hear is water dripping on the floor. So I'm assuming it must be raining outside at this point. I don't know, I'm completely disorientated. I decide that my best course of action is to be as quiet as possible and just listen to what I can hear. I hear a couple of the clowns walking down the corridor, and I can see them in the distance. So I tuck myself away even more and get down so I'm sitting on the floor. It's really dark, so I don't think they'll be able to see me, even with the little lantern they're holding. As they're walking past me, I hold my breath, and I can hear them saying, once we find this one, they'll never see him again. They'll be so glad that we've caught another one. At that point my heart sunk, and I started spiraling in my head. Was this something they were saying just to spook me out and they knew where I was? But if they knew where I am, why weren't they grabbing me and trying to spook me out? Why was there no one else in this place? Why was it so weird me getting in? Why did they seem so happy that someone had shown up? I don't know. This whole situation spooked me out, and I don't know what they want. So I decide what I'm going to do is remain quiet for another few minutes, let everyone pass, and find a way out of this place. As I'm hiding around the corner, I can hear two of the clowns, or whatever they're dressed up as, walking down the end of the corridor. I keep completely silent and decide that my best course of action is to wait for them to pass. So I slowly lower myself to the ground in a kind of squat position leaning against the wall. I can hear them talking about me, but I can't make out exactly what they're saying. It's obvious that they're looking for me, and they're looking for a way to try and find me and where I've gone. Two of them pass, and I don't know where they've gone, but I think one of them turned left and one of them turned right. I decide I'm not going to head that way, and I wait another 10 minutes or so, and hear nobody. At this point, I decide I'm going to try and make my way out, back the way I came. So, slowly but surely, I edge my way around the corner, keeping low and making sure to stick as close to the wall as possible. I keep down and almost tiptoe my way to the end of the corridor. Now, I'd only made a few turns to get to this point, so I knew my way back. It was just trying to make sure that no one heard me or knew where I was. I decided my best course was to look around the corner quickly to make sure that no one was coming, and if the coast was clear, then I could head down. So I quickly looked around the corner, and on a glance, I saw someone walking back the way that I originally came in from. Was this one big rectangle, or did it lead off into other areas? I didn't hear anyone walk back that way. They must have been keeping quiet or had other ways to get back to the entrance. I decided to leave it another minute, but I'm completely exposed at this point. If someone came round any of the corners, they'd find me. Thankfully, no one did, so I quickly darted my way around the corner again and started walking back down to where I just saw the person walk. I knew this was a risk, but I felt that my best bet was to get back to that area that I came in from, run all the way up that incline, and find the door. So I'm slowly tiptoeing my way again, and I can hear people just behind me, where I just was. I decide to pick up the pace, and I sprint all the way up the incline, back up to the original corridor that I was at. It looked like the door was open at the end, even though there was no light and no lights on at all in this place. So I make a dart for the door, and as I'm running, I can hear voices behind me shouting that he's getting out and he's getting away. As I'm running towards the door, I can hear voices shouting, he's getting away. I sprint as fast as I can, and I can hear my heart in my chest. I burst out the door and make it out the entrance of this place. I can hear people shouting behind me still, so I decide to run as fast as I possibly can, despite having this injured ankle, and out the fence that I originally came in. I get out the fence and I dive down to the ground. I'm trying to stop myself from panting too heavily, but I can't help it. I hear people outside patrolling around looking for me, but thankfully I jumped into this really dense bush so no one could see me. I tucked myself away and I could see 5, 10, 15 people all searching the area. Thankfully, they were looking under cars and in different amusement rides to what I was in. No one seemed to think to look in the bush. I left it around 40 minutes, with people still looking, and decided I was going to make a run for it. My ankle was throbbing at this point and really hurting. I decided that once there was only one or two of them in view, I'd make my way out. Once one of them went behind the building, I got up as quickly as I could, kept low, and walked as fast as I possibly could whilst trying to keep down. It was almost like a crouch run, but I was going as fast as I possibly could. No one saw me and I made it back to my car. I got in and sped off. I didn't look back, and I don't know if anyone saw me get in my car or the lights from my car, but no one seemed to follow me. I made it home, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm writing this out so I have a log of it. My parents didn't seem to believe me when I got in, but they never do believe me with anything. I'm about to tell my friends and call the police. I don't know what these people wanted, and it didn't seem like an attraction to me. Hopefully this place is still there in the morning, and the police can get these people, or at least find out what's going on. Hello everyone, this is the part of the video where there's no more stories, so if you're only here for the stories, then there's plenty more on my channel, and plenty of other channels out there that narrate stories much better than I do. But if you're just here for the chat and the conversation, then that's what I'm here for. It's been a while since I did this. I'm sitting in the notorious windy spot, and so if you can hear that, then apologies, but some of you said you like it, so I'm just going to keep it in. I also really like this spot, so yeah, we're just going to go with it. Yeah, I'm recording this at about midnight, so apologies if I'm talking a little bit quiet. I just don't want to wake people up. But yeah, I had a few things I wanted to talk about, actually. A few quite random things, actually. So my cat, I have a cat, if some of you don't know, and my cat for some reason is quite he's not overweight, he's just on the bigger side. He's very fluffy, but I just assumed that he just sat down all day and did nothing, but turns out he was in a fight the other day, and he gets in fights occasionally. I don't know why, because my cat's scared of everything, but for some reason he's not scared of fighting other cats. And there's a new cat on the block. And my cat, well, I woke up to some weird noises outside, and I was like, what on earth is going on? And my cat is in a full-on like stare down with another cat, and they're like making weird noises at each other, and they started fighting, and then I ran out, and the other cat just ran off, and so did my cat, to be fair. My cat had blood on him. I think it was the other cat's blood. But like, what do I do? Because this cat is coming back like every day now. For some reason my cat doesn't back down. He's like Mike Tyson, but he's like, I don't want my cat to get hurt, so like, what do I do? Do I scare this other cat off? Do I just let them do their thing? I don't know, because, and I'm not always there, obviously. He's having these like duels. He's always getting in fights with other cats, so that's the worrying thing. Like, I've had bad cats hurt each other. I don't know, it kind of worries me. Like, what if they like really hurt each other? What do I do? I don't know. I've always wanted to put like a little camera on my cat's collar to see where he goes. I do wonder sometimes how far they go, because I used to think they would just stick around like the neighbourhood or like, you know, a few houses. But from what I've seen or what I've heard, cats can go miles and miles. I don't like the idea of my cat going miles and miles. I don't want him to go into like a road or something. It kind of worries me. The amount of times like I've driven down my road and a cat has just run straight out in front of me. Kind of worries me that he would do that, but hopefully he doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, that's a little update on my cat. He's well, do you know what? Just another little side note about my cat. I say he's not overweight. I don't feed him that much, right? But there's other people. I think there's people sneaking him food in my house, because there's no way you get to be a little plump thing like that without having multiple people giving you food. And I tell people he doesn't need any more food, but I think just because he gives him the look, I think other people are feeding him. I think he goes around other people's houses. I think he's got all the old grannies in the neighbourhood feeding him. I think he knows what he's up to. I think he's sneaky about it. But yeah, that's my theory on my cat. But anyway, do you know what I really need to cut down on at the moment is fizzy drinks. I'm really getting a bit too deep with the fizzy drinks at the minute. I just love them, I really love like Dr Pepper, Coke, Pepsi, Lucozade. Um, those are the main ones, to be fair. I just love a Dr Pepper. I really do. I know it's not good for me, and I know people say get the sugar-free versions, but it's like, what's the point? But I do need to. I definitely need to. I've not been really on it when it comes to like diet recently. I've just like, I'm trying to be a little bit more social, and because sometimes I get invited to things and I just end up saying no just because I like being in my own company. But I think sometimes you need to like, can't say no to everything, I suppose. And I'm one of them people that just like being by myself sometimes, even though as much as I like being with other people. I don't know how to explain it. I'm kind of like, sometimes I make plans and they come around and I'm like, oh, I've got to do something. But yeah, so I've said yes to a couple of things recently, and I end up like eating rubbish. The problem is I wish my favourite food was something like, I don't know, salmon and vegetables, or do you know what I mean? Something healthy. Whereas at the moment, well, not at the moment, it always has been cheeseburger. I've always said if I had my last meal would 100% be a cheeseburger. I've always said it, from like Five Guys or something. I absolutely love Five Guys. It's just annoying. Like, I wish I was one of them people that was really into just eating healthy. Do you know them people that go out and they get like a salad? Just wish I could. I don't mind a salad. I like fruit and vegetables and salady bits. I like all that stuff, but I just never really want it when I go out. If I'm going out somewhere, like, why are you going to spend £10-15 on a salad? Like, do you know what I mean? If you're in like a restaurant, I don't know. I just don't want to. And I wish I did, but I don't. It's not like I go out that much as well. Like, I feel like when I go out, it's very occasional. Like, very rare I go to like a restaurant with my friends. So I don't want to have something healthy. But I think that's what my downfall is. I always think though the restaurants must make their money from the drinks, because you'll get like a little glass of Coke and it comes to like £2.50. If you can get a whole like 2 litre bottle for like £1.80 or something, £2, they must make a lot of money on drinks in these places. Yeah. Sorry, I'm tired. I've not had a great couple of weeks, to be honest. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Just things haven't been going my way recently, but I'm trying to think positively, you know. And actually, sometimes when these things happen, in the moment, it's hard to like, it's hard to think positively, I think. But when things do go wrong in your life and you're having problems with, I don't know, jobs or a relationship or anything, you just need to like, sometimes once you're out of the moment, because sometimes, like, I feel like when you're right in the moment, and say if it's at work and you're with someone who's horrible and nasty to you and your boss is breathing down your neck or something, it's kind of hard to step away from it. When you're out of the situation for a couple of days, like on a weekend or something, it's kind of nice to just reflect on what's happened and like sort of rationalize it in your head, because I don't like I feel like sometimes blame is deflected onto people, you know, from people that are higher up in jobs, and you kind of, if you're not at the top of a job, things can be sort of things are made out to be your fault sometimes. There's not much you can do about it. But when you really reflect about it and sit down and just take a minute, you can sort of like reason things in your head and make a little plan for yourself of, this is what I'm going to do if this situation arises or whatever else. Sorry guys, my microphone cut out then. I think I was talking about, oh yeah, so I kind of feel like if you're on a job, sometimes, you know, I feel like things can, especially when you're tired as well. I think that's, for me, I find things most challenging when I'm tired and worn out. I think if I'm like fresh minded, I'm able to manage situations a lot better than when I'm really tired. I feel like I don't make always the right decisions if I'm really, really worn out and tired. But if I'm feeling like I've had like the weekend to think about something, I can go in and like rationalize things, if that makes sense, and sort of like have a plan. Like if someone speaks to you in a certain way, or if anything happens, this is what you're gonna do. Do you know what I mean? Like, just have a little plan in place. It's nice to have a plan. I also find that, but this is just what helps me. I don't know if it would help anyone else, but try and look forward to the little things. So, for example, if you really hate your job, just being like, you know, I don't know, say if it's in the morning, you think, yeah, this time of the day, I'm just going to go and make myself a drink, have a couple of minutes to myself, or I'm going to go and sit on the toilet for a couple of minutes, just have some time to myself, just for a few minutes, just to these little incremental, like, mental breaks, just to try and clear your head a little bit, and then knowing that that's a place you can go to every now and then, just to clear your head. I find that sort of thing really helpful. You know, having just sometimes as well, when you're like in the heat of a moment with something, it's good just to remove yourself for a few minutes, just to step outside and get some fresh air. You know, I find it's helpful, especially like, you know, when it's cold outside. I think that really helps. It's like nice just to get outside. I think that sometimes getting outside just for a little while is just nice anyway. Have you guys ever worked somewhere where there's like, let me know in the comments. No, have you ever worked somewhere where there's like no windows and you're inside or you're underground or something, and there's literally no fresh air, and you just feel like a mole or something? Like you've got absolutely no like knowledge of the outside. But like, it's horrible. I used to work in a place like that where there was no windows, there was like no natural air, no natural light, and you just feel like it's not human almost. It sounds weird. It's kind of like it's not a natural way to be. Like, if you, especially when you wake up early and it's dark, you're in this building for like 8-9 hours or whatever, and then you leave and it's dark again. It's like you're not, unless you go out on your lunch, and a lot of the time people sort of like sit inside on their lunch break, and I think, you know, just go outside for a little bit, you know, like get some air and like natural light, because it can't be good for you. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me waffling on, but I just felt like it can't be good for you to be sitting in this building all day, not like seeing any like sunlight or having any air, or I don't know. This is years and years and years ago, but I used to just think it was weird. But yeah, I don't know, tell me what's your guys like way to sort of like mentally sort of just get a break from what you're doing, you know, no matter what it is. So for me, I find having little things to look forward to is really helpful. Being like, I'm gonna have a tea at this time of day, I'm gonna have a tea. Or like, sometimes I used to think like this, like when I had that job from years back, I used to think to myself, this time tomorrow I'm one day away from the weekend and stuff like that. I used to just give myself like little things to, like little goals to get to. So I'll be like, this time tonight, I'll be like, yeah, it'd be like 10 in the morning. I think 6 o'clock tonight, I'm gonna, I don't know, play my PlayStation or whatever and buy a drink, and that's what I'm gonna be looking forward to. That's what's gonna get me through the day. And I think sometimes having these little mental things, just little goals, because sometimes, you know, you've got nothing to look forward to. If you've got no like annual leave coming up, or you've got no like breaks or anything coming up, it can be like, oh god, I've got nothing to look forward to. I think that's when people get down about things, like, especially if they're not enjoying what they're doing. So I think giving yourself little tasks and little things to look forward to throughout the day, and like for the next day or whatever, really helps. Just me anyway. Do you know what? I was making a tea the other day, and I was with my dad, and he's quite like, we have our teas a little bit differently. He makes a proper, like, I like a strong tea, right, but he is to the next degree. There's like a sliver of milk in his teas, right? They're literally like orange. And I was making a tea, and I thought, the audacity, right? So I was making it, and he was doing something else, and I was, during your talking, you're not really like thinking what you're doing. So I poured a little bit too much milk in, right? I admit it was too much milk. You don't want a milky tea, but I poured just a little bit too much in, walked away to do something quickly, whilst the tea bag was sitting there, he's picked my tea up, thrown it away, told me to make another one. I won't say what he called it, but he said it was quite nasty. He was disrespecting my tea. He yeah, some foul language about my tea, and I just didn't appreciate it. He got quite serious. I thought, well, who are you to throw my tea away? I might have enjoyed that. I still would have had it. I mean, it wasn't going to be a very nice tea. I mean, to be fair, it was like proper milky. It was like, I don't know, it weren't great, but he was proper. I just said to him, like, who are you to throw my tea away? I might have had that. But yeah, he got a bit. He gets serious with his tea, my dad. It's got to be right. And also, this annoys me. Sometimes I used to make him teas. I don't make him teas anymore because I think it's always nice, right, to make someone a tea. It's like a nice gesture, isn't it? I said to him, "Do you want a tea?" He went, "Yeah, right." What? And I went to make him I made him a tea, gave it to him. You should have seen the look on his face, the absolute disgust on his face when I gave him the tea. Clearly, it wasn't up to his like 1 millimeter of milk standards and whatever. I think like 1 sugar or something. He's looked at it. He's gone, what? He's just, again, foul language and disrespect to my tea. Just thrown it away. Chucked it in a bush. Actually, threw it in a bush. Didn't even like let me walk away and think he'd enjoyed it. Threw it in a bush. The disrespect on my tea. But yeah, so I won't make him tea anymore. It's rude. I'm not having it. My granddad though, he's alright with teas because I've made him a tea in the past, and I said to my dad before, I said, I'm telling you, no matter what I do with this tea, he will drink it. So I made the biggest abomination of a tea you will ever see in your life. I put coffee in it, I think. I just made it repulsive. I put like 6 tea bags in there, coffee, and he still drank some of it. He drank half of it. He's putting some funny faces drinking it, but he still drank it. I put loads of milk in. It looked repulsive, like little bits of coffee floating in. He still drank it. So that's the opposite. Like, he will drink a tea. If you give him a tea, he'll drink it, no matter what it looks like. He'll have it. My dad's the complete opposite. My dad's got to have like some Gordon Ramsay tea. It's got to be perfect. But I'm not particularly fussy. I prefer a strong tea, but I can have one that's a little bit milkier. It's not always my favourite, but I'll have it. But yeah, I don't know how long I've spoken for, but I'm quite enjoying this. But yeah, do you know what I was having a think earlier about, because I know this is really random as well, but I was thinking about I think a couple of episodes ago we were talking about again, it's always like food or drink, but we were talking about Pepsi Max, and I've come to the conclusion that Pepsi Max for me is only nice if it's ice cold. I don't think Pepsi Max when it's warm, I think it's one of the worst drinks you can have when it's warm. It's horrible. But when it's ice cold, it is god tier. I don't understand why there's so much difference between something being hot and cold. But I mean, you can tell I've been a bit bored recently because that's the sort of thing I'm thinking about. Yeah, anyway, what have you guys been up to? I'm proper waffling on. What have you guys been up to? Have you done anything interesting? Let me know. I do obviously read the comments. Sometimes I'm so tired from doing stuff that I forget to read the comments for a couple of days, but don't think I'm not going to read them, because sometimes I see comments have come through and I'm like, I'm going to get back to that, I'm going to reply to that in a minute, and then I don't know if you do this, but I sort of reply to it in my head thinking of what I'm going to say, and then I just don't write it. I do this on messages as well. People send me messages, I'll just read it, and then I feel like I've responded but I haven't even clicked on it. And so yeah, I do read the messages and comments, but sometimes I just forget and it takes me a couple of days to reply. But don't think I don't want to talk to you, because I do. It happened in the last video and I completely forgot, and I looked at it again in a couple of days, but oh no, I've not responded at all. But yeah, some of your comments are really funny actually. But yeah, let me know what you guys have been up to. Also suggest the charity of the month. I'm not too sure who to do for the next one. Things have been a bit chaotic for me recently, so when things are settled down a bit, I might sit down, because I don't just want to do one for the sake of doing a charity. I want to really put some thought into it, and one that I really want to get behind. So let me know what charity you would like for the charity of the month, and I'll donate to them. And obviously I'll put them on here and leave links and stuff for you guys to have a look to. But yeah, I don't think it's too much to talk about. I mean, this has got to be one of the most boring ones. So, if you guys would want me to stop talking for this long at the end, let me know. I kind of just enjoy it, and I know a couple of people said they enjoy it, but maybe like if I had a bit more of a topic, I suppose, to talk about, because I talk about random nothingness. Like, I don't really want to talk about like politics though, because I never know what's going on. I know we've got a new Prime Minister in England, Rishi Sunak, I think he's called. I don't have any opinion because I don't really follow it, but yeah, don't want to talk about politics. Don't want to talk about anything heavy. I don't really want to talk about. Anything that's controversial, I'm not really in the mood to talk about, because I don't really have any opinions on most things. I just go with the flow with most stuff. But yeah, anything that's a little bit interesting, anything that's a bit weird, tell me something weird and we'll talk about it. For example, we've spoke about like seeing figures in clouds. We spoke about weird stuff, like what's the worst like situation to be in, like in the sea, and do you know what I mean, like what's a better situation to be in out of like a load of horrible situations, and like anything random. Like, what would you... Let me have a think, actually. On the spot. I don't know. I'm not good on the spot. I don't know why I did that to myself. There was no point in me doing that to myself. I felt the pressure instantly. I can't think of anything. But, yeah. Let me know any, like, interesting comments. Like, maybe, like, would you rathers. But nothing ridiculous, obviously. Nothing that's not good for YouTube. But, yeah. Let me know. Also, let me know about the charities that you'd like me to have a look at. And yeah, I'm going to end this here. Thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And yeah, comment in the comment section what you'd like to see next. See ya. Bye.